That is Gold Run, which was a super rich creek, and where it dumped into Dominion, I'm guessing, was in this area right here.
Get ready for an exciting adventure with Parker Schnabel and Mitchell Blaschke in the latest episode of Gold Rush. This time, the daring duo is heading to Alaska, chasing the dream of striking it rich with gold. They're on a mission to find fresh mining spots, and Alaska seems like the perfect place to dig up a fortune. The people selling the land promise Parker and Mitchell that this area is practically overflowing with gold. But that makes you wonder, what's the story behind the old mining company that used to work here? Why would they leave behind such a treasure? Before proceeding further, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Tune in to see Parker pull off an incredible $400,000 gold haul in this Alaskan adventure. It all starts when Parker, based near Fairbanks, Alaska, about 20 miles north, decides to rethink his mining plans. He calls up his trusty partner, Mitch, to join him on this risky but thrilling journey. As they trek to the site, Mitch can't help but ask Parker, "Why Alaska?" Parker explains that even though the gold is buried deeper here, it's way richer than their current spot in the Yukon. Last year, he drilled some test holes through tough, clay-packed ground and hit a gold streak 4 times better than what they've been working with. For Parker, it's a no-brainer. This could be worth the extra effort. But there's a catch. Digging deep isn't easy, and a 4-month delay with their custom wash plant has thrown a wrench in their plans. When they arrive at the claim, Parker and Mitch meet Elora, the daughter of the claim owner, John Reeves, and her husband, Drew. After some friendly hellos, the real challenge begins. Mitch isn't sold on the idea yet. He's a tough guy to convince. Parker's counting on Elora and Drew to prove this Alaskan land is a gold mine waiting to happen. They're hoping this historic spot could turn their season around. Will it pay off? Grab a front row seat to find out. Elora's got a spark that might just win Mitch over. She's all smiles and confidence, promising to show Parker and Mitch the spots where she's struck gold before. "There's tons of it out here," she says, and Parker's practically buzzing with excitement as they head deeper into the field. The crew starts poking around the claim, checking things out, when Mitch spots something odd. An old, rusty piece of equipment. "What's that?" he wonders aloud. He thinks it might be an ancient dredging bucket, maybe part of a punch plate from way back, like something shaken up by an earthquake. "It's got that old-school tremor screen vibe," he says. Parker nods but shrugs. "Looks kinda small to me." Mitch keeps going, pointing out how this setup is way tighter than their gear at Big Red, where they're running an inch-bottom deck. "The more we can figure out about how the old-timers worked this place, the better off we'll be," he says. Elora jumps in with her take. "Back in the day, those miners couldn't grab the bigger gold nuggets with their tools. So whatever they missed, it's still here for us." Mitch nods along as Elora leads the way, guiding them to a spot first mined in the early 1900s. Parker starts digging into the dirt, hunting for gold clues, but comes up empty-handed. Mitch chimes in with his own guess. "This is probably just drift tailings, leftover junk from old mining." Elora agrees, explaining, "We've poked tons of holes around here, and it's all tailings." But she adds with a grin, "Just because we don't find gold in one spot doesn't mean the next pan won't be a winner." For Parker and Mitch, though, this is old news. Mitch laughs. "Yeah, we're pros at not finding gold when we pan. Seen it 1,000,000 times." Elora rolls her eyes playfully. "Oh, sure, gold's so hard to find." Still, Mitch is like a detective, trying to piece together what the old miners were up to at this dredge site. He figures they hauled everything up through shafts. Elora steps in, sharing all she knows about the place before the dredge even got there, giving Mitch the full scoop. Will their detective work pay off? Stick around to see. History of dredging techniques. Modern gold mining equipment. Elora explained, "They used to do drift mining around here. That means there's a layer of earth packed with gold just waiting for us." Mitch jumps in, piecing it together like a pro. He figures the old miners dug straight down, sometimes 100 feet deep, through stuff as hard as concrete. Basically frozen ground called permafrost. Once they hit the good stuff, the pay soil right above the bedrock, they switched gears. They tunneled sideways, making paths to haul out the gold-rich dirt. Up top, they sifted it through rough, old-fashioned boxes to catch some gold, leaving the rest in piles called tailings. Now that Mitch gets how the old-timers worked, he's thinking there's still gold left behind. Easy pickings for him and Parker. They didn't get it all, he says. It's sitting right up here near the surface. With that, Parker and Mitch start feeling pretty pumped about their odds of striking it rich on this claim. Maybe this spot could be a gold mine for them down the road. Parker, still swirling a pan of dirt hoping for a glimmer, chimes in. These drifts ran through some basic sluice boxes up top. Could have been set up 100 years ago. But after more panning, he's got nothing to show for it. Frustrated, he calls over Elora for backup. "All right, your turn. Show us where the gold's hiding." Elora points to a little hill with a birch tree sprouting out of it. "See that?" she says. "When you've got tailings, birch trees pop up, their roots digging into gravel, and sometimes gold." If she's right, Parker and Mitch might just see their Alaskan dreams come true fast. Elora takes charge, leading them a few steps toward the mound. When they find a sweet spot, she hands Mitch a shovel. "Give it a go," she says with a grin. Mitch scoops up some dirt, fills the pan, and passes it back to Elora. The moment of truth is here. Time to swirl it and see what's inside. If the old miners left gold in these tailings, it could be a total game changer. Parker's thinking, this could be quick and easy to mine. And once his wash plant finally shows up after a few months' delay, they might have something big to celebrate. Will they strike gold? You've got to watch to find out. Elora's eyes lit up when she spotted tiny flecks of gold in the pan. She grabbed her phone and called the rest of the crew, buzzing with excitement. "You've got to see this," she said, knowing they'd be just as thrilled. Parker, though, wasn't so sure at first. He's never had much luck panning, and he admitted it drives him nuts. "I'm always swirling dirt and coming up empty," he grumbled, sounding fed up. But Elora stayed positive, waving the pan in front of him. "Trust me, Parker. This one's going to make you smile." As she rinsed away the mud, shiny gold dust peeked out from the side of the pan. Elora couldn't hold back her grin. "This is the best pan I've ever done," she blurted out. Parker peeked over, and his frown flipped to a big, excited smile. The whole team couldn't believe it. They'd hit the jackpot. Elora laughed, still shocked. "I can't believe there's a chunk of gold this big just sitting here. The old miners didn't just leave behind a little gold. They left a treasure trove, and Parker's crew could swoop in and mine it with their wash plant, no problem." Parker's enthusiasm kicked into high gear. He yelled over to Mitch, "We're in, man! This is the start of our big Alaska adventure!" He couldn't stop raving about how awesome the plan was. "There's so much gold in there," he said. "If we're moving everything to mine this spot, we'll just run it through the plant and cash in." Suddenly, their whole Alaska mission had a new spark, and it looked like they might actually set up shop there for good. Mitch, who'd been tough to convince, finally cracked a smile. "All right, I'm sold," he said. "This could work." Wrapping it up, he sounded pumped. "We could have an amazing season here. If we can sluice it right, we won't even need to strip the land." With gold in their sights and a solid plan, Parker and the crew were ready to make it happen. Will this be their big break? You'll have to tune in to find out. While Parker and Mitch were off exploring Alaska, Tyler Lee took charge back at Indian Island in the Yukon. His big job? Keep everything running smoothly at the airfield with Big Red, their trusty mining setup, and make sure the crew could count on him to handle it all without a hitch. For a whole week, Tyler and the team hauled tons of heavy gravel, keeping the Yukon operation chugging along. When Parker and Mitch finally got back, one of the crew members welcomed them with big smiles and warm hellos. After catching up, they jumped straight into talking about the Alaska trip. Tyler asked, "So, how's it looking up there?" Mitch spilled the details about their Alaskan adventure, explaining how they found drift tailings, leftover dirt piles from mining way back around 1900. Before he could finish, the crew guy piped up, "Oh yeah, I know that spot. There's a ton of tailings up there." Parker jumped in, laying out the juicy details. "The claim could be as big as 50,000 yards. The crewman's jaw dropped. "That's huge! Those piles are already stacked high. You guys could strike it rich." Parker grinned and added, "Exactly. And here's the best part. No stripping needed. We can just dig in." He explained how important it was to prove to Dawn, the claim owner, that they're serious about mining in Alaska. "We've got to move some dirt, make some money, and pay his royalties, or we could get kicked out." But before they could fully switch gears to Alaska, Tyler and the crew still had work to wrap up at Indian Island. The crewman chimed in with an update. "While you were gone, we kept things rolling here. The airstrip's been humming, and we even pulled some gold." He got Tyler ready to weigh the shiny stuff they'd mined that week. It was time to show Parker and Mitch what they'd accomplished. As the crewman poured the gold into a pan, Tyler started counting. Parker guessed Big Red had been cranking out about 1.8 ounces of gold per hour at the airfield. "It ran for 90 hours, so we should have around 160 ounces, he figured. But when Tyler tallied it up, the total hit 224.50 ounces. Mitch and Parker's eyes lit up, way more than they expected. Tyler's weekend charge had paid off big time. Will this success push them toward Alaska? Stay tuned to find out. That week, the crew struck way more gold than Parker ever expected. Mitch gave the team a big thumbs up, keeping it short and sweet. "You guys crushed it. Awesome job." While he and Parker were off in Alaska, the crew back at the Yukon airfield raked in nearly $400,000 worth of gold. Parker did some quick math and figured they were pulling about 2.5 ounces per hour, way better than his guess of 1.8. "I'm blown away," he said. "They didn't even need us around to keep things rocking." Parker felt a huge wave of relief, knowing everything was still running like clockwork. As Mitch and the crew started heading out of the cabin, one guy stayed behind, insisting, "I'm good. I don't need help packing up the gold." That left Tyler grinning from ADO ear to ear. With Parker and Mitch able to leave the airstrip stress-free, he knew the team had everything under control. They kept digging, moving dirt, and uncovering gold, with plenty more treasures still to come. Now, let's talk about Parker Schnabel, the gold mining whiz. He's been chasing gold since he was 16, building a fortune from the ground up. Parker took over the day-to-day running of his family's mining gig, Big Nugget, and hasn't looked back. It all started when he scraped together some cash and kicked off his own operation. In his very first season on Gold Rush, he struck it big in the Klondike, hauling in an incredible 960 grams of gold. That was just the beginning. By age 24, Parker had mined a jaw-dropping $13 million worth of gold. He's poured a ton of that cash back into his business, snapping up top-notch mining gear to keep the gold flowing. From teenage dreamer to gold mining king, Parker's story is pure proof that hard work and a little dirt can pay off big time. What's next for him and the crew? You'll have to watch to find out. Parker Schnabel is loaded with cash, but don't expect him to flaunt it like some 20-something millionaire. Nope, this guy's all about the grind. He spends his days hanging out with the Gold Rush crew and his buddies, chasing gold instead of living the high life. His company's raking in serious money, but Parker's not slowing down anytime soon. Now, let's talk about something that sounds fancy, but isn't as simple as it looks. Royalties. Even though mining gold seems like a straight path to riches, companies like Parker's have to pay a cut to the government or whoever owns the land they're digging on. So, how do these royalties work? Picture this. Local, state, or federal governments charge a fee based on how much gold or other minerals a company pulls out and how much cash they make selling it. There are two ways they calculate it: gross or net. A gross royalty is like a flat tax on the total value of the gold mined. No discounts for the crazy costs of turning dirt into shiny treasure. A net royalty, though, is kinder. It's based on profit after all those big expenses, like the millions or even billions spent finding, digging, processing, and selling the gold. Mining companies argue they shouldn't have to pay extra on the value they add to raw materials after sinking so much money into the job. Up in Alaska, where Parker's been scoping out new claims, mining outfits pay a 3% royalty on their net profits. Plus, they're big players in their communities, shelling out property taxes in places like Fairbanks and Juneau, and pitching in special taxes in the Northwest Arctic Borough. What do you think about all this mining madness? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and stick around. More gold digging adventures are coming your way soon. Catch you next time.